All right, so we are in our Love and Relationship series, second week. Last week we had the Hagans up here just sharing about marriage, and if you missed that, I would encourage you to go online and watch that. Today we are joined by the Wells, and we are going to be speaking about parenting this morning. So thank you guys so much for coming. And if you just want to begin, tell us a little bit about yourselves, how long you've been married, how many kids you have, how old they are.
Sure, yeah, thank you so much for asking us. We have been married 17 years, and we have 4 amazing kids. We have Jackson, who's 13, Evelyn, who's 11, Grayson, who's 10, and Olivia, who is 7. And I think I got them all right. And yeah, we're in this really fun stage of parenting right now. We have 2 in elementary school, 2 in middle school. So while we have the new stuff of preteen and teenage parenting, we also get to still celebrate all the finger paintings that come home and the weird band concerts.
Okay, great. So what are some tools that you use to disciple your children? What kind of rhythms do you have in place? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the first thing I thought of was just to lead by example. And, our kids magnify the best and the worst of us and all of the things down to the little noises that we make. I always notice my kids will be making a noise that will frustrate me, and then I'll be in a meeting and I'll be making that noise. And I'm like, oh. And I think that's the same thing that we can expect, in the good things that we do too. So by leading an example, like if we want our children to know God and we want him to read our Bibles, that's the first thing that I go to. So it's by leading in that example is, when I wake up in the morning, I'm reading my Bible so my children know that that's important to me and it should be important to them. And I really just invite them into that space with me so that they, it's not a me thing with God, it's an us thing.
Yeah, another rhythm we have in our house, we really prioritize prayer, and not just praying over our kids or praying with them. We really try to empower them to pray. So we have taught them how to pray. They are so cute when they do it. They use just short sentences, and they'll pray over each other, whether it's a little paper cut or someone has a hurt heart. And it just is such a safe place that we've built, and it gets them connected with the Lord so well in that way, so that when we aren't available for them to run to, they know what to do and they know how to pray, and when they're with their friends, they're able to do that as well. And then another thing that we really put a lot of, not effort, but I really love family dinners. I think that is super important for us, and making sure that we spend time together. I make sure there's no noise, no distractions, no phones at the table. And while that might sound really kind of legalistic, the whole house gets quiet and it's only us around the table. I'll even go as far as lighting candles. It just makes it very special. And it's a time where we can ask them, how was your day? How did you see God show up for you today? What happened at school? What happened in our family? And we have a little board that is over on the wall near, and we'll talk about miracles or we'll talk about things that have happened. And it's just a really good time. So while we know that it's not always, there's different seasons for everyone. So there might be, kids practices and stuff, but that's not, that's an exception. So the standard is that we sit down and we have family dinner together, and that's a really high priority to make community important.
That's really good. Sounds like you're very intentional with what you're doing. So how have you seen God at work in your parenting and your kids?
Yeah, so often we can feel alone, and I think all along our journey so far, we've seen God placing people into our lives, because it's not necessarily just all on us, and God's just placed the right people in our lives to help us, to help our children, to help our family. And then just over time, the kids have just grown authentic relationships with Jesus, again, through all of those moments of spending time with him, believing, praying, and seeing him work in our lives. They've been able to grow relationships that they're able to have with him separate from us.
So how do you deal with boys versus girls? You've got 2 and 2. So are there any differences in the way that you nurture and work with them?
Yeah, it just so happens we have it split right down the middle. And it's not always that I'm with the girls and he's with the boys, but I will explain the girls for us. They really are creative. They're very into music, entertainment, things like that. And so for us to connect with them and for them to connect with the Lord, there's a lot of doing it through what they love to do. So painting with them, listening to worship music with them, talking about their day and seeing how did God fit into their day. So it's more of a relational kind of way to connect with them. So that's a little bit different than the boys who are a little more compartmentalized waffles, right?
Yes, we're waffly. You got to go back and listen to that if you don't know what we're talking about. So for the boys, really, I think just the examples I gave is inviting them into the place and space that I'm spending time with God. So encouraging them to join me in reading our Bible together and giving them opportunities to put God first in the things that they're doing, because it's easier to not tell them that they can't do stuff, but really just ask them to ask the question of themselves, like, if you have an hour to spend watching YouTube shorts in a day, like, are you spending any time filling yourself with truth? And I think it really works where they're considered to think to themselves, well, maybe I do have a few minutes. And we've seen that they've actually taken the opportunity to spend time with God separate from, the time that I'm spending with them specifically.
You're investing in your kids. That's really good. If you had, just from your experience, if you were to share one piece of advice with other parents, what would you like to say?
Yeah, so I think valuing them through relationship rather than just trying to dictate everything that they're doing, I think it builds trust and allows us to guide them a little bit better, and just making sure that we hear their voice and their desires, and we value the things that they are showing interest in as well.
And I would say to make sure that you invest in your own relationship with Jesus, because the history that you create with God is like an overflow out of what you're going to do and how you're going to parent. So, and it really just speaks so much more the way that you act and the way you spend your time and the things you run to when things are good and when things are hard. So making sure that you have a good relationship with God yourself, and then just everything kind of flows out, and have a lot of grace for yourself, because it is, it's parenting and it's a challenge, and it can be fun and exciting, and just, receive that grace. They want to know you need God too.
And Mary, thank you so much for sharing today. Why don't we give them a hand?